If you see 4 Americans on the street today, 3 of them don't have enough money saved for when they stop working. More than half of American workers have saved less money for their whole retirement than what they made in just 1 year of work. And here's the scariest number. 27% of Americans have saved nothing at all. $0. Not even a little bit. I'm Jag, and I spent 2 weeks reading reports about money from the government and big banks in America. I'm going to tell you what I found. The real truth, not what money advisors want you to hear. This is what's really happening with retirement savings in America. Let's talk about retirement. The government did a big study about how much money Americans have. They found that people between ages 65 and 74, people who are retiring now, have saved about $200,000. That's the middle number. Half have less, half have more. These people worked for 40 years, and after all that time, half of them have less than $200,000 saved for the next 25 or 30 years when they won't be working anymore. Now, $200,000 might sound like a lot or a little to you, but let me explain why this number is actually really important. The median number tells us that half of Americans have more and half have less, but it doesn't tell us how much less. When we look at the actual distribution, we find that 33% of Americans aged 65 to 74 have less than $100,000 saved. Think about that. 1 in 3 people at retirement age have less than 6 figures to fund potentially 3 decades of life. Another 15% have between $100,000 and $200,000. Only half have more than $200,000. And a significant portion of those are concentrated in the top 10% of earners, who skew the average upward. When we look at Americans aged 55 to 64, people who are 10 years away from traditional retirement age, the median drops to $185,000. For people aged 45 to 54, we're looking at $130,000. 35 to 44, $68,000. And for Americans in their late 20s and early 30s, those who have the most time to save and benefit from compound growth, the median retirement savings sits at just $22,000. But here's what should genuinely concern you. These numbers represent only the households that have retirement accounts at all. When you factor in the 27% of Americans with zero retirement savings, the picture becomes significantly darker. We're not talking about a small segment of the population struggling to prepare for retirement. We're talking about the majority of Americans heading toward their 60s and 70s with nowhere near enough money to stop working without a dramatic decline in their quality of life. So let's talk about what $200,000 actually means in 2026. Not in theory, not in some financial advisor's PowerPoint presentation, but in real life with real expenses in today's economy. There's a principle in retirement planning called the 4% rule. The idea is straightforward. If you withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year, adjusted for inflation, your money should last approximately 30 years. So 4% of $200,000 is $8,000 per year. That gives you $667 per month from your retirement savings. Now we need to add Social Security to that number, because that's the other major component of retirement income for most Americans. As of 2026, the average Social Security benefit is approximately $1,976 per month, or about $23,700 per year. So, if you're the median American retiree with $200,000 saved and receiving the average Social Security benefit, your total monthly income is $2,643. That's your number. $2,643 per month to live on for 25 years, possibly 30, maybe longer if you're healthy and modern medicine keeps advancing. Let me walk you through what that actually looks like in 2026 America. The average rent in the United States right now is $1,850 per month. Now, maybe you own your home and don't have a mortgage anymore, which would be fortunate, but you still have property taxes, homeowners insurance, and maintenance. Even if we're generous and say housing costs you $1,500 per month, when you factor in everything, you're left with $1,143. Utilities in 2026, including electricity, water, internet, and a phone, will run you about $250 per month if you're being frugal. you're down to $893. Groceries, if you're cooking at home and being careful, are going to cost you at least $400 per month. That leaves $493. And we haven't touched healthcare yet. Let's be conservative and say healthcare costs you $300 per month out of pocket beyond Medicare premiums. You're now spending $475 per month on healthcare, and you have $18 left from your $2,643 monthly retirement income. $18 before you've paid for car insurance, gas, clothing, household supplies, or had a single moment of enjoyment. $18 before anything breaks, if anyone gets sick or life happens in any unexpected way. This is the math. This is what $200,000 in retirement savings actually means in 2026. And this is the reality facing half of American retirees right now. So, how did we arrive at this point? How did the wealthiest nation in human history end up with a retirement system where the majority of workers are heading toward financial insecurity in old age? The answer isn't simple, and it's not just about people making bad choices. It's structural, it's systemic, and it's been building for 40 years. In 1980, approximately 38% of private sector workers had a traditional pension plan. Their employer would manage a fund, invest it, and guarantee them a specific monthly payment after retirement. The risk was on the employer. The responsibility was on the employer. Workers showed up, did their jobs, and knew they would be taken care of in old age. By 2026, less than 15% of private sector workers have access to a traditional pension. They've been replaced almost entirely by 401k plans, which shift all the responsibility and all the risk onto individual workers. Now, the 401k was never designed to be the primary retirement vehicle for American workers. It was created in 1978 as a tax-advantaged way for executives to save additional money beyond their pensions. It was a supplement. But corporations quickly realized they could cut costs dramatically by eliminating pensions and offering 401k matches instead. The problem is that this assumes workers will make optimal financial decisions consistently for 40 years. They need to enroll, they need to contribute enough, they need to increase contributions as their salary grows, they need to choose appropriate investments, they need to rebalance periodically, they need to resist the temptation to withdraw money early, and they need to do all of this while also paying rent, buying groceries, raising children, paying off student loans, and managing the 1,000 other financial pressures of daily life.
We took retirement security, which used to be a benefit managed by professionals, and turned it into a do-it-yourself project for people who mostly have no training in finance or investing, and then we're surprised when it doesn't work out. But the pension crisis is only part of the story. Wages tell the rest. When you adjust for inflation, the median wage in America has been essentially flat since the 1970s. A dollar earned in 1973 has approximately the same purchasing power as a dollar earned today, adjusted for inflation. Meanwhile, housing costs have increased by 300%. Healthcare costs have increased by over 400%. Higher education costs have increased by more than 1,500%. Childcare costs have exploded. The price of everything that matters has gone up dramatically, while wages have stayed relatively constant. This creates an impossible situation for millions of workers. Financial advisors will tell you to save 15% of your income for retirement, but when 68% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, where exactly is that 15% supposed to come from? When rent takes 40% of your income, student loans take 10%, healthcare takes another 10%, and you still need to feed your family, heat your home, and keep your car running so you can get to work, saving 15% isn't a choice, it's a fantasy. The average student loan debt in 2026 is approximately $40,000, and people are paying these loans off well into their 40s and 50s. Some are still making payments in their 60s. Every dollar going towards student loan interest is a dollar that isn't growing in a retirement account. But it's not just the money, it's the time. If you spend 20 years paying off student loans, you lose 20 years of compound growth. You show up to retirement planning 20 years late and wonder why everyone else is so far ahead. It's not because they're smarter, it's because they had time and you didn't. Then there's credit card debt. The average American household carries about $7,500 in credit card debt in 2026, with interest rates averaging 21 to 24%. When you're paying $150 per month in credit card interest, which many people are, that's $150 that could be growing in a retirement account. Over 30 years at 8% return, that $150 per month would grow to approximately $220,000. Americans are literally financing their future poverty by paying interest to credit card companies today. If you're in your 20s or early 30s, you have something incredibly valuable that nobody else has. You have time. If you're 25 years old and you invest $300 per month in a diversified stock index fund, assuming an 8% average annual return, which is slightly below the historical average for the stock market, you will have approximately $1,500,000 at age 65. And for anyone in their 20s or 30s, maxing out a Roth IRA should be your first priority if you can manage it. The contribution limit in 2026 is $7,000 per year. That's about $583 per month. If you max out a Roth IRA from age 25 to 65, you'll have contributed $280,000 total. But with compound growth, you'll have approximately $2 million in retirement, completely tax-free. That's the difference between financial stress in retirement and financial security. If you're in your 40s and 50s, you need to be more aggressive. 15 to 20% of your gross income needs to be going toward retirement if you want to catch up. That probably means some uncomfortable lifestyle adjustments. For people in their 50s and 60s, the reality is harsher. You're running out of time, and the amount you need to save per month to reach comfortable retirement numbers becomes very large very quickly. If you're 55 with $150,000 saved and you want to get to $750,000 by 67, you need to save about $3,000 per month. That's a lot of money. For many people, it's impossible. So what do you do if you're in your 50s or 60s and significantly behind? You have several options, and none of them are particularly pleasant, but they're all better than retiring broke. First, you consider working longer. Every year you delay retirement does three things. It gives you another year to save, it gives your existing savings another year to grow, and it increases your Social Security benefit. Retiring at 70 instead of 62 can increase your Social Security benefit by 77%. That's a massive difference in monthly income for the rest of your life. Second, you might need to dramatically reduce your planned retirement expenses. Maybe that means downsizing your house now and investing the equity. Maybe it means moving to a lower cost of living area. Maybe it means accepting that your retirement won't look like what you imagined, but it can still be secure if you're realistic about your spending. Third, and this is important, you need to make sure your money is actually growing. Many people have money in their 401k just sitting there, earning only 1% because they never picked where to invest it, or they were too afraid of the stock market. If you won't retire for more than 10 years, your money should be in stocks, not just sitting as cash. Yes, stocks go up and down. Yes, they lose value sometimes, but over many years, they grow enough to beat inflation and build your wealth. Here's what you need to know. You can't work forever. Your body will eventually stop you from working whether you're ready or not. Getting sick, physical problems, memory issues, or younger workers taking your job, something will end your career. And when that happens, you'll need money to live. If you don't have money saved, your choices are bad. You'll live only on Social Security, which, as we talked about, isn't enough to live comfortably. You'll need help from family, if you even have family who can help you, or you'll be truly poor when you're old, which isn't just stressful, it can actually hurt your health and put you in danger. If this video changed how you think about retirement, hit that like button and subscribe. We'll keep talking about money topics that most people avoid. This information is important, your future is important, and the time to deal with it isn't tomorrow or next month or when you have more money. The time is right now. Thanks for watching.